Have you ever wanted to make a dramatic entrance to your D&D session? Or maybe you've been invited to a last-minute Renaissance fair, and you're a 16th century ruff and farthingale or a ye old laundromat. Or perhaps you just want something magical to wear as you go about your daily activities. Whether or not any of this applies to you, I think we could all use a cape in our lives. The construction of this cape is actually incredibly simple, and there really isn't much in terms of a pattern. The body of the cape is just a rectangle, and we're going to be pleating that down and attaching that to a hood. Here, I want a full-length cape, and fortunately the fabric I have is wide enough so I can actually cut the entirety of the cape in one piece along the weft and still have it reach the floor. But if your fabric is on the narrow side, you could just join two pieces of fabric together down the center back. And then I'm going to quickly hem the edges of my fabric that will become the front opening of the cape. I would normally hem the bottom edge as well, however, I want to put a trim on it, and I think I'll wait until after I get the hood cut out. So this here is a trim that I want to put on the hem, and I also want to put that on the hood. Now usually my hood patterns end up looking something like this, but this one has a curved edge down the front, and attaching the trim to that is going to be more work than I want to do. So I made a pattern that looks like this, just kind of by eyeballing it, and I should be able to attach the trim down the front here pretty easily. Okay, and I should explain what the pattern is here. So this is the back of the hood, this here is the top. It's going to be cut in two pieces and sewn together along both of those edges. This is the front, of course. This here is where the cape is going to get attached. I measured this out to be about 10 inches, which doubled is going to be 20, and that should be plenty of room to go around my neck. So I had some pieces left over after I cut the hood, and I didn't want them to go to waste, so I just cut them into this shape you see here. I put a little hole here for the neck, and I'm going to sew them up down the back. This is the back right there, and it's just going to go over the cape, and I think it'll look really nice, and that way I don't have to throw this away. I'm now going to put the hood together with a French seam. Then I'll start attaching the trim to the hood, the bottom edge of the cape, and the piece I just cut out by turning the seam allowance outward and sandwiching the raw edge in under the trim. I'll also be stitching the other edge of the trim down to secure it in place. While I tackle the yards of stitching I have set before myself, I should explain why I'm making this cape in the first place. Every winter, my friends celebrate a holiday of our own invention that we call Witchmas. It's an annual tradition full of food and enchanting witchy outfits where we give magically inspired gifts to each other. And this here is one of those gifts. This year I'll be making everyone a cape, or at least a cape adjacent item. I finished 5 of them, not including this one, and I still have a couple more to go. Unfortunately, our previous Witchmas fell victim to plague, thus we weren't able to meet up in person and held a virtual gathering instead. And with caution in mind, we've had to postpone this year's celebration too, but hopefully this will just be a temporary setback. Anyway, I've now just about finished attaching the trim, and all that's left to do is to put the pieces together. I'm going to pleat down the cape and make it the same length as the neck around the hood, and stitch each layer on top of each other. Normally, I would finish off these edges with a binding, or by making a lining for the hood and sandwiching the edges in between, but I'm not too worried about this fabric fraying, so I might just leave it as is. And our last step will be to add a hook and eye to the front as a closure. This project really only took a few hours, and it could be easily completed in an afternoon. In hindsight, I wish I had a little more fabric to give the cape some volume, but ultimately I'm pleased with how it turned out. If any of the other capes I'm planning on making end up being interesting, I'll definitely make a video about them, but at the very least, I'll be sure to show them off once they're done, along with all the other projects I've finished thus far. Until then, happy sewing!